Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Kim with K Montes Art Studio, and I'm back with another little paint and chat. As I mentioned in the other two paint and chat, this is all I've been able to have time for this past month. I have been studying for a large exam and I take the test next week, so please pray that I pass. I've been studying immensely. So today we have some gouache and our Aquarello Fabriano paper. That's so hard to say. So I kind of fell in love with that paper last week. I know I mentioned that it's kind of textury and things like that. So I thought this would be good for gouache, and I've been craving making some more saturated paintings, and I think I might do gouache again next week. We'll see what happens. So I also wanted to try to use my Neocolor 2s and see if that layers well on top. And of course I'm using my Pentel water brushes with my watercolor paper that I mentioned, the Artistico Fabriano Aquarello paper. So yeah, you can see last week's painting on here, and I love how this paper kind of is a block, and well, it is a block and it tears off pretty easily. It has that nice little corner. Once you let your painting dries, it sort of stretches and it straightens out for itself. So this little painting was inspired by a folk art style. I was just scrolling through Pinterest, not even considering painting this week at all. And of course I landed on some art, and they were all kind of folk art related paintings of landscapes, and I was really drawn to that. So I took advantage of that urge and I quickly turned on the camera. I was like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity. Let me jump into a painting. So that's exactly what I did. Again, I'm trying to keep in mind painting when I have the time and when I have the urge. So that moment was kind of like a doom scroll moment, except for on Pinterest. And I just took advantage of it and went with the painting kind of flow. I had no image in mind, just kind of, again, imaginary style. And I think I had an initial color scheme of greens and blues, of course, but I was initially intending to bring in some of that Fauve style into this painting, but you'll see that I wasn't able to fully accomplish that. I think for the next painting, I'm gonna try to reference one of my several photos so that I can have at least a good reference, and then just really focus on the color. So yeah, so that's the plan for next week's painting. Here's a little hello from my art manager. He was bothering me while I was painting, and he kind of jumped on my lap, and I just took his paw and waved in the camera. He misses being on camera and judging me just as much as I miss making film in my studio. And I'm sure you guys miss him too. He's been kind of a pain in the butt, to say the least, these past couple days, because I clearly haven't been paying attention to him as much as he's used to. So he's kind of like, hey mama, like, hello, can you give me some hugs and rubs, or what's going on here? So that's kind of what's his emotions. I try to incorporate him every now and then into my art sessions. So here I decided to continue with some of the green monotone color, and I was absolutely enjoying the texture with the gouache that I'm using. So the gouache that I'm using, oh my goodness, I forget the brand. Okay, so it's Holbein gouache in my Transcend palette. So I love this gouache. This is probably one of my favorite types of brands for gouache. I do have four different colors. In particular, on the left hand side upper pan, the opera pink, the peach, the brown, and sort of the burgundy. So those quadrants right in the center upper area, if you're wondering, those are Artex, and they're pretty good. I like their consistency. I wouldn't have them in this pan if I didn't like them. I have a couple of their other colors in a different pan that I let dry out. So if you know about Transcend palettes, they are stay wet palettes. I haven't been having a good time with my stay wet palette recently because I haven't been able to consistently paint in them. Now, that's not to say that they're not doing their job. I think the Transcend palettes are excellent at staying wet and keeping your gouache wet. And I would totally do that if I was using it as often as I used to. So the purpose of me letting them air dry and kind of dry out is to avoid from molding. And I've had that happen so many times that I wasted a lot of paint, and I just don't want that to happen anymore. So I just let them dry out, and if I see that I'm going to use this consistently, I am going to soak it, let them moisten, and basically stir them up and immediately seal it and kind of just treat it like a stay wet. But for those that are having that issue with stay wets and molding, I highly suggest just leave the pan open, let it dry out, and do the same technique that I just mentioned. So some of my plans after finishing this exam with my YouTube channel in particular are to kind of give you a little bit of a studio update because some changes have happened in my studio. I also plan to work on some larger pieces because I am going to take a break between exams. So I plan to work on a couple of larger pieces. I might use some of these smaller paintings to reference. I also plan on applying for different shows and submissions to different things. I actually just submitted my website into a local gallery in a neighborhood near mine. So hopefully that gets, I get a call back from that. But that's the plan. I kind of miss creating consistently. The summer was so good to me. I had so much time to make and create. So I do want to update my website. That's another thing on my list. And I think I kind of want to go back to doing some gallery tours and doing some of those. And I think that's a good plan right now. I also need to pick back up with my nonprofit. So that's a big priority plan on the top of my list, along with picking back up on some of my art. And I foresee a lot of this happening in 2025. Yeah, so I look forward to creating some fun videos for 2025. I definitely am very excited for some of those new things. So I would say the first thing I want to do when I pass my test, because I'm going to speak into existence, I'm going to pass my test. I want to attempt a monthly challenge since I didn't get to participate again for the third year in a row in Peachtober, which I've really been dying to do because she has some fun prompts. I love her prompts. They're not very like specific to October and also not very like spooky, and you can interpret them honestly in any way you want. So I really like her prompts. Inktober, I've tried it before for about a couple days, failed at it. I just wasn't getting a hang of the ink just yet. I also had just started back up on my art and I was so rusty. I had no idea what to do and how to draw and things like that. And then I tried, I think, a couple other challenges, but I also had a challenge of my own when I did the 12 days of Christmas last year. Definitely check that out because Christmas is around the corner. I loved creating those videos. They were a lot of work and I don't think I'll do it again this year, depending on time and scheduling and all that stuff. So it's up in the air right now. It was a lot of like production and thought. There was a lot of planning into that, which is pretty typical for these types of like monthly challenges. So we'll see. It's up in the air right now, but I do want to, whether that's like a 12-day challenge or a 7-day challenge or a 30-day challenge, I don't know what that's gonna look like or what it's gonna be, but I've been kind of craving creating every day and I don't know. So that's my plan. I'm a big planner, so I'll probably sit down and literally plan out all the things I have to do because I put everything aside, like my nonprofit stuff, my art, my aside from work, of course, everything has been focused around those two things, work and studying. So I want to get back into it. I want to feel creative again. I'm just so sad. But, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm excited to pass this test. I feel very ready. Tomorrow, I take my practice test. Did I set it up for Thursday or did I set it up for Friday? I don't know. I think I might have set it up for Friday, so I have a practice test. Anyways, enough about the boring tests. So what have you guys been up to? Let me know in the comments below. So let's jump back into this painting here. So here I am kind of jumping into the sky, and I love creating skies. Skies are a lot of fun to create. I remember sitting through a watercolor lesson with Winsor Newton's company rep, and he was awesome. He was really great, very informative about a lot of the products with Winsor Newton. And there was a student in the class that had no idea how to create skies. And I was mind blown. I was like, you just take some blue, saturate it, water it down, and kind of just have fun. That's like the easiest part for me, is to create skies. Sometimes I create them very loosely, more cartoon-like. I vary the clouds. Yeah, so I was pretty impressed to hear that skies were hard for her, but she was a realistic painter, so it made sense. So I guess let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this painting. So far, it's been a lot of fun. I did the most of it in gouache, and I kind of start to dive into the Neocolor 2s And I realized that I didn't like some of the flakiness that the Neo colors were presenting on top of this particular paper. And don't get me wrong, I love my Neo color 2s. But sometimes you have to know your combination, and this wasn't working. So I jumped into my my Caran d'Ache luminance pencils, and they were much more creamier, helped to blend certain areas and give some texture, and it helped to balance things out a lot better. This orange area really was a big mistake, and I was like, oh my god, I've ruined the whole painting. I'm like close to the end, and I immediately tried to kind of cover things up, and it was just getting worse. So then I jumped back into the gouache, and this is why I love the luminance pencils. It covered it right up. I don't know if I can't remember if the luminance or oil base or what their like primary thing is. I would assume that it's not oil based because it would have rejected the gouache kind of easier. But I mean, these are such a good a good match made in heaven. So yeah, then here I'm attempting to bring in some of the blue typical sort of outline that folk arts typically have, and it just wasn't working. So I was like, oh well, screw it. I'm just gonna keep it as more of my traditional style landscape things, and I blended that little blue out, and I kind of erased some of the other blue. I didn't plan on having any pink seeping through, but it's just in my nature to gravitate towards my opera pink. Everybody knows I love that color. So I left it as is and kind of just let that be my painting of the week, and I had so much fun with it. This one took me about an hour, I would say about 40 minutes or so, and I really had fun. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you been enjoying these paint and chats? Are you kind of over me talking about certain things like my exam? Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and welcome to all the new followers, new subscribers, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.